Hi guys, welcome to a Tez Talks. I know it's been really long overdue. I've noticed that quite a number of people have brought that up, that Tez Talks has been very far and few between, and I just wanted to speak to that for a minute. I was in a pattern, I think, prior to having children, of doing so many regular episodes of Tez Talks, and since having my kids, and especially since having my second child, life is just so much more full, and it's so much more of a juggle. And really, for me, one of the main reasons that I don't think I was doing Tez Talks as much was that I had said yes to too many things, and I started shooting a TV show in August, and it was just absolutely non-stop. I don't know whether any of you read Your Zen Mama, but I would work 15 hours a day, and then I'd be parenting as well. And what I realized is that the plants I needed to water were my work, and especially being a parent, because it was a shift for my boys not to have me as a full-time parent every day. So I just got into this rhythm of working and then being with them and not really taking time to do anything else. So I know that Tez Talks suffered because I've had a lot of feedback from people saying that they miss Tez Talks and Mama Thoughts on the Your Zen Mama platform. And so I really am committed to starting that up again, and I'm trying to carve more time out of my life to do that and to be present. And for me, I like to really think and like marinate in the idea of a topic, and be a little bit more prepared, because I found myself having the tendency to dip back into a lot of the similar topics I've talked about before. Today I'm just free flowing. And another thing that I think made me feel a little vulnerable was that almost all of my Tez Talks or my Mama Thoughts were being turned into a media article. So I would do a talk, and I noticed that I was becoming hyper aware of the language I was using, because I would find that it would be turned into an article. And when something like Tez Talks and Mama Thoughts is taken out of context and it's written in an article, it never comes across in the way in which I envisioned it to, and the meaning of what I was doing gets lost, and it gets sensationalized, or little things get pulled out of context, and it's just and I was getting really vulnerable about that. And perhaps there was something in that made me subconsciously pull away from doing the talks. And I also I got a little nervous about sharing parts of myself. For whatever reason, I've always been such an open book, and I think I just had a moment of feeling vulnerable, not feeling completely certain of what it was that I was doing. So anyway, I'm feeling good now. I've finished my show. My show was relentless. I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to do anything for myself when I shoot that, because the schedule's really, really tight, and you have a much shorter turnaround when you shoot in Wales versus shooting in America. Do you know what's so funny? This is providing a really nice bounce for me. So I don't look as tired as I am, because I'm very tired. This is my script from my new movie, Ride Like a Girl, that I'm doing. And the the white folder is creating a bounce for me. Anyway, that was non-intentional or unintentional. Oh my God, I need more sleep. Okay, so what do I want to talk about? I guess what's on topic is diving into the uncomfortable, which is stuff that I have talked about a lot before. My fave Rumi quote, you got to check out Rumi. If you haven't looked at Rumi's stuff, you must do it immediately after you finish watching this, because I love everything he writes about, and it's just so on point and very articulate. And anyway, so there's a quote that he says, I think I've made it slightly more poetic by saying cast your eyes upon the bandaged place, but I actually think it's keep your eyes on the bandaged place, because that's where the light enters you. How beautiful is that? I love it. I had a moment of vulnerability surrounding working again and getting back into it, and I've been really exhausted coming off the back of this show, Discovery of Witches, and it was feeling uncomfortable, and I was feeling resistant to jumping back into work. There's a lot of training. I've been training every day, working with horses and getting to know just how it feels to be back in tune with horses again. And they're very perceptive animals, so they can pick up on your tension. And I think it's quite a beautiful life lesson I'm learning as I'm riding these creatures, because as soon as I panic or if I tense up, the horse feels my body. And it's almost as though I don't have to do anything. I'm not holding onto the reins tighter. I'm not squeezing tighter. It's just the horse can sense it in my body. It's something that I'm putting out there energetically. And life is like that. If you are putting a bad energy or a tense energy or an afraid, or if you're holding on to certain parts of your body, you'll get constantly being read that way by other people. And I think it's very easy to be misread in certain situations where you're having feelings come up that are uncomfortable, and feel yucky and feel challenging. And the main word for me is just really uncomfortable. But it's when you're in those uncomfortable moments that, as Rumi says, the light enters you. It's where you gather your strength and your wisdom, and you can just learn about yourself. So the more you dive into those uncomfortable feelings and those emotions, the greater the lesson. And I like to think of life as a beautiful river, and all your thoughts and feelings and experiences and emotions. I mean, really think about it. You have these days, and then the days just go, and they go into this river, and it's a constant flow. So everything is always changing and evolving. And there's something so incredibly liberating about that, because it's hard for you to remain stuck when everything around you is constantly in flow. So for me, I know that I am working in the greatest capacity in my life when I can recognize the fluidity of life, and how when I allow things to rise up within me and then just let them go and observe them, and they move along, and then sure enough, you're on to the next thing. And it's quite beautiful. Life is a dance, and it's always changing and always in flow. And I think so when you judge yourself or label yourself, I'm this kind of person, this is how I do things, this is the way I need to work, or this is the way I am, or this is how I am in relationship. These aren't correct and true statements, because you is always evolving, no matter what you're doing in your life. Constantly, every day, I'm a different person. I have different thoughts and emotions. I learn different things. I grow in different ways. Today, I had a moment where I had rehearsals and I was really nervous about it. And I could feel my heart beating fast. I could feel my voice closing up, and I start to talk like this in my throat. My throat closes over, and that's just one of the physical things that my body does when I'm feeling unsure. And then I took a deep breath. I created space in my mouth. I told myself that I'm exactly where I need to be. And I went into that rehearsal room and I felt confident. I felt able to be open and to be present and to be receptive to ideas and excited about being in there and doing work. And I didn't feel that I was being judged. Felt that I was in a room where I could play, and there was a playground, and I was allowed to play on that playground in any which way, and I was given parameters. And that's a beautiful thing, because then you're learning and you're experiencing and you're growing. And I think life is like that. Life is like a beautiful playground, and you get to try new things and experience stuff that maybe you wouldn't usually experience. And I want to encourage you guys to say yes to that, to every day figure out, like, what am I doing today that's bringing me closer to myself? What am I doing today that's going to lean into the uncomfortable places so I get to know a little bit more about who I am, and why are those things uncomfortable? What is it about this particular thing that makes me feel uneasy? Let's get to the bottom of that. Let's get beneath that and see what that's linked into. Is that linked into some sort of small trauma I had between the age of 0 and 17 that's subconsciously holding me back? So it's about just being easy on yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself. Every day is a new day. Every night is a new night. Use that as an opportunity to recharge your batteries and say yes again in the morning. What am I going to do today that's different? What am I going to learn? How am I going to be? How can I be present and find deeper connections with the people I'm communicating with? How can I be open and authentic and true to who I am? So that's where I'm at right now. And I was sitting there tonight thinking, oh wow, I'm really getting a lot of heat from people saying, where's the next Tez Talks? And I thought, I'm going to put my boys to sleep, and I have 1 hour of time that I get to myself after they're asleep. What am I going to do? I'm going to do Tez Talks, because there is something about this that is scary, and it is jumping in the deep end, and it's very vulnerable for me, but I'm constantly learning. And one of my favorite things in life is being able to connect with you guys outside of being in films or being an actress or being a mummy blogger. I want to connect in a real way, and I love having these kinds of conversations with people. And I really love you guys when you come up to me on the street and you recognize me and you say, I love Tez Talks. Let's talk about that. This is what's going on in my life. I just really enjoy that. So if I do see any of you around the place, please come up to me and let's have a connection. Let's chat. And I really love that. And I believe in you. I believe in all of you. And you're incredible human beings, and you are enough just the way you are. Keep going. Let go. As my husband has tattooed on his heart, let go and let God. So whatever God is, whatever that feels like to you, it's different for each person, but lean into that. And hey, I love you guys. Tez Talks is back. It's coming at ya. Mwah. Good night from Melbourne.